Give my time. Wow. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. We had a little bit of a 5-second lag. Good evening. I'm Nick Tucker. This is the Historical Fencing Guild's live stream for February 12th, 2021, or Season 2, Episode 7, if I can make my hands work. I am your host, Nicholas Tucker. Hello, Cindy Cap. Well, my favorite authors, patrons, and awesome people. Let me lay down the spiel, and then we'll start talking shop. All right, the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by The Simple Sword. The easiest way to learn how to sword fight, regardless of age, ability, or wealth. This is it, folks. I wrote this book. I love this book. We're going to move right on. Also by the Big Stompy Robots line of games. Both of these can be found on Amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tucker. That's me. It is also brought to you by my patrons. My patrons on Patreon are literally why I can keep the lights on and the tarp up here at the Historical Fencing Guild. Right now, folks like Cindy Cap, Brian K. Morris, Stef Mari, and the perennial Stephen Augosto, coupled with a couple supporters like John Miner over at Swakhammer Metals and the infamous Steve Clausen, all come together to give me little trickles that I can weave into useful things and do reviews and talk about things like this little number, which is something I'm going to be getting into tonight. We also have some news you can use, and I have a minor announcement that I'm going to drop right into. The Historical Fencing Guild has partnered with a group of semi-deranged artists, authors, comic book creators, and such, called the Risingtide Broadcast Network. So what you will see is I'll be plugging some folks as I get the script right, because basically I know a bunch of awesome authors and creators, and we're trying to make sure that the independent content on YouTube is uplifting, educational, and kind of on the awesome side. And so we're doing this thing. It's a neat thing. I'll plug it more. I also have a minor announcement that the Hybrids RPG is just steamrolling. I've been just beating my raggedy fingers raw making it. So yes, let's get to the comments. I said hello to Cindy Cap. I can't say it enough. www.CKOEPP.com. She's riding on the edge. And we're by, yes, the infamous, the elegant, the noble, savage brute that is my dear friend Steve Clausen. Yeah, Steve, I'm really I'm glad to hear from you guys. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to be making some announcements and some good stuff. And later, in about 6 months probably, I will be partnering with some merch situations that I will likely be involving. See, I love how this button-up shirt has transformed into like the world's most 80s almost shoot shirt, like dress code. I can dig it though. I'm feeling it, folks. Had a bit of kerfuffle on the way in. It's all settled now, but that's why I'm starting a couple minutes late. And breathe. Okay. Now, actually, no, I need to caffeinate. Y'all talk amongst yourselves for about 5 seconds. Blessed is the bean, bringer of life. Or in this case, caffeine, which has nothing to do with the bean. I feel a little heretical, but that's okay. Thank you, Cindy. Guys, we got to talk some shop. Now, in January, usually there's this big rush of, I have to get in shape. But I think really with political things, which I'm not getting into, this is me not getting into that. A lot of people were kind of needed called, hey, well, see, no, because this is just a shirt. I need like the like a light gray suit jacket and a pastel pink shirt. Get some synthwave going. Oh yeah. I do have a members only jacket tucked away somewhere I bought because I'm like, oh my God, that was the coolest thing ever. Yoink. Yeah, I'm dating myself. And you know what? I'm okay with that. But I was going to show off my zero cost Nerf mods, but as that's out of the room and I'm comfortable, guess we'll have to wait again. Do have some announcements. As you know, every week I scour the airwaves looking for the best deals for sword related things. That brings us back to what I was talking about. We want to get in shape, but how do we get in shape without having interaction or having our happy little bubbles? Well, that's a good thing to talk about. How I had to go back and think of how I originally did it. Now, mine was twofold. Partially, I was the guy who checked out the books in the back of the library. And to this day, I have an unrequited love of Joe stabs, which are about 4 foot long, as in they convert very nicely into katana work. It flows well into longer staff work. It's sort of a hybrid that can be everything. Now, this is not 4 foot long, nor is it a Joe staff, but this is a mock rattan stick. No, yes, you are a Joe staff, but don't get into my way. By our good friends at Cold Steel and donated to me by the incomparable Steve Clausen. This is one of the leftovers where he's like, here's a box of trainers, have it, enjoy it. My plan this month, while I am working on publishing, is to do a whole bunch of product reviews. And we're going to be visiting this because if you wanted to spend money, this is one of the most ubiquitous trainers I have ever found, and something, as I have hand difficulties, I like even more than I used to. Because despite its deceptively simple design, it is very, very elegant, because there are a couple factors. And let's break this out. This guy, tell me that's not a familiar length on this channel. That's right. Now, it even has a part that kind of gives you an idea of where a pommel would be. Now, I want you to know, I am wearing my heavy-duty braces because I'm having bad nerves with the storm. So everything you see will be operating around a piece of aluminum in my palm. Not protruding, but enveloping. That's what this is. To help keep the wrists secured. Now, the neat thing is this finish. It's hard to show you. It looks matte, but there are these very, very, very fine almost wood grain striations that make it almost totally non-slip. And the slight rays around the bamboo-looking segments allow it to sit in the palm of your hand with the very, very slight, what would be a belly swell in a handle. And it allows it to be very elegant and malleable. While I am a two-sword guy, I am still not a two-stick guy. At the end of the day, I like the versatility of having one stick and two hands. Now, this is an older cold steel product, which means you can find it on eBay dirt cheap. You can see it go for $40. I actually have to find another link for it, but I had some computer outages right before this video on top of several other things. So I'm going to do a full review. I am going to say that a simple tool that can be anything is one of your best friends when it gets into training. Now, getting back to my original thing before I got distracted, when you are training, the best thing you can have is a partner, if not an instructor. Let's be honest. The best thing is, supporting your local sword master and having somebody who can walk you through the paces. But we don't all have that, and I can only, Facebook Zoom so many people. The next thing is getting a trainer kit, which means the weapon or weapon simulator and a DVD, maybe a book. So I was cruising around and I found, excuse me, a few such kits. Now, in the days before Hemo, whoa, I've got the hiccups. 1 second. In the days before Hemo was very popular, we had a lot more access to Eastern martial arts systems. And if you guys are enjoying this, please be sure to hit the like button. I'm fighting that algorithm real hard right now because the term weapon comes up a lot, and it's very easy to misconstrue what we're about here, and that can have ramifications. So please like this and please share this. It's just to keep the signal going. That being said, I was looking at a resource of mine for Eastern martial arts, martialartsmart.com, and they have weapon master kits, which usually are a DVD and the weapon that you're training with. Some of them are as low as $24, $25 range. Now that's not factoring tax and shipping. But right now they're on 30% off. So there's some really good deals if you're looking to get into some of the more Chinese or Japanese systems. I do recommend the Iron Fan because, especially for some Sydney Kep, you might want to look into one of the fan-based systems. As one, it's a great character builder, and two, you can still practice it with a plastic fan. You can go through all the blocks, parries, and strikes as done because it was designed for a metal fin-vaned fan. So you know the flip-out fans? There's whole systems built up around them as if they were bladed on the edges or just as a solid metal deflection device, basically making it a silk and steel shield. Really neat, and it's very good as a non-standard weapon system. As you know, I collect styles. Now, I do have one of those fans somewhere that I purchased for my wife, and if I can find it, I'll bring it out, but probably not this week. Basically, I lost 2 hours of vital prep time due to some local calamities. But so really, weapon master kits available through martialartsmart.com. Now, if you have a bit more money and you want the best Western martial arts training that I don't provide, because the Historical Fencing Guild is still very. Yes, Cindy. It's one of the styles I actually really enjoy when I'm feeling kinda mobile. And yes, it's not a traditionally male style, although I've seen male practitioners to great effect. It's considered more female now. I enjoy it though. I enjoy being able to the flow and parry is a really great system since it's essentially once you close it, it becomes something very small, about the length, a little longer than my tin whistle. So that's about the fan functions. The tines are about that long, and then it fans out. I didn't realize I was going to be talking this much about it, or I would have dug my the one I got Amanda out. They're really neat. The systems are solid, and it just flows. Heck, I think I played a little bit with that back when I was bumming VCDs off of Sword Sage back in the early to mid aughts. So yeah, really, Cindy, I think you would like that, given you have such a proclivity for birds in your writing, and I think that it's a very nice style, especially for someone who may be a courtesan. It's basically an excuse to weaponize an object you're carrying that doesn't look like a weapon, and I do really enjoy that type of mentality. Now, so that's definitely some of the fun. The Bodhidharma cane is fascinating if you want something a little different than the crook cane. Oh god, they have solid butterfly knife systems, although I think you'd probably be better served acquiring a DVD and then getting the poly propylene butterfly knives. Butter knives. Well, they kind of look like giant butter knives. There are a couple companies putting them out at a low cost and are our good friends Purple Heart Armory, of course, are putting them out. But I have something special for them that's actually targeted to one of our regulars. So I'm trying to hold up to see if Stef Mari joins us. But getting back, Anthony DeLongis of Palpable Hit. You may not know the name Anthony DeLongis, but if you watched any movies or TV from like the late 70s, 80s, all the way to like, I know he had a scene in Leverage. It was the one where they were crashing the mobster's wedding. He played the butcher of whatever and basically had a really nice kitchen fight with Christian Kane. He's one of my favorite human beings alive when it comes to martial arts, stunt manning, and general sorts. I missed a piece of my beard, and now it's driving me nuts because it's gone all poofy. But he is the producer of Palpable Hits, and he's the one who produced things like Maestro Ramirez's La Verdad Destreza, the single best Spanish rapier fighting video series. I have not even seen Volume 3, and they are pricey at about $70 a hit. But they're also some of the best training I've ever found. So if you're running a small group, I really recommend just snagging and training with them en masse. That way you can sort of delineate the cost. He has variants for the Italian styles, but I've read Gigante, and I like Gigante better. The elevation of the style gets a little closer. Now there's some small sword styles I'm trying to find because I found a lot of my natural fighting proclivities lean greatly towards small sword. So we'll be looking into that more. And as always, I'm looking for decent poly trainers in small sword. But there is a but he has a series, and it covers if you want to get into stage fighting, for example, and you want to do homework before you try to get certified and trained. And I really do recommend, if you're looking towards lots of stage fighting, that you train it, because it's very, very different than what I consider practical fighting, where stage is, of course, choreographed. And learning that art of fight choreography, while fascinating, it's important. And I think it's interesting for authors to know the difference, because I find a lot of authors will write in a way where they've been heavily influenced by movie fights, and they don't understand the practical side, or like this disconnect of what looks good versus what's practical, and how that affects your characters and their characterization is really a big deal. So I really would recommend looking at that. Now, you know what? I'm just going to talk about this, and if I have to retread this ground, should Stef come out, I will retread this ground. I went to Purple Heart, and I went flipping through the deals, and they do have some Purple Heart is odd because they'll have their deal of the day section, but they also bury some surprisingly good sales sporadically throughout their website. And as we were focusing today, I wanted to focus on acquisitions for bringing the training in while we adapt, while it's this horrible weather, to be ready for when spring, both the temperatures and the springtime of our souls, when the COVID restrictions are lifted and we can all intermingle again, at least in combative fashions. They have, and please, my speech impediment will be in full gear, the Shashka Cossack Saber trainer kit. It was $100, and it was one of the better deals for $100, given what it is. At $85, if you're at all inclined to saber fighting, especially if you have good gloves, I really think this is a good deal, because this is two very long sabers. That now they don't have guards because they're Russian Shashka sabers. But 2 sabers and volume 1 and 2 of the Russian Cossack Saber manual. So each of those is 20. That means 40 of it goes to the books alone in value, leaving 20-something for the sabers if you're breaking it down by that's one of those deals you find and you think whatever you believe in and you roll with that because it's really just a good versatile system. Now I have one other sale, actually 2 sales, because I saw a book that looked interesting. And these are also all through Purple Heart. 3/4 inch by 39 inch single stick blade. That's actually rattan. It's just a piece of rattan for $11.99. I have mixed feelings on this because rattan is much, much safer for combative use than wood because rattan does not splinter. It looks remarkably like this, but it becomes mushy and kind of when the fibers break down, making it a lot safer. It's less prone to break. Hello, I have a message. Anyway, oh, okay, that's Drivel. Wow, somebody's gonna be like, Nick, you call my message Drivel? When I'm hosting my show, if it's unrelated, absolutely, I called it Drivel, and I call it Drivel again. So Drivel. Back to what we do. Okay, I think I can see that being a very good deal for somebody who isn't sure what they want to train, and that's why I actually had this stick brought out. This is a bit heavy, so not super heavy, but it is about half again as heavy as a dowel rod, roughly this diameter and weight. That gives more pronounced hits and it's a little sturdier, but this is a great length. And the reason I like this length right here, aside from the obvious measure, is the versatility. Now we're talking again, guys, we want to start training and we want to build ourselves up. That means there are sort of families of weapons. And by working with one, it helps you understand the others. So, basically, oops, oh my God, stuff is that. Let me grab a couple things. Here we go. We're going to keep it simple. You have an axe. Actually, let's put the axe down. You have a short stick, which would be just about as much as you see on screen. Right? This is a valid thing. It's called a club. They've been in use forever. As long as humans can go grab stick, hit with stick, they've used clubs. They've gotten longer, and by getting longer, they mutated into staves. A staff is a great weapon. Now, between that going back to the club, we have the knife and the axe. These are both branches that developed from the club. And I know a lot of people don't think in terms of melee weapon tech tree, but we really should, because the more we understand the basic components, the better our foundation as we build up. So this is just a long, sharp stick. A spear is just a staff, and this has a little knife at the end, a weighted knife at the end of a stick. Now, all these work similar. We have the gross body movements. In this case, when I talk about gross body movements, okay, under stress, it is more difficult to do very fine, delicate motion. Okay, it takes a lot more repetition to do complex things under stress. And while that seems like common sense, people do not think about that when they think in terms of self-defense. And remember, while I am very much a historical researcher, I always try to pull back to the practical, in part for my own safety, and in part the vast majority of weapons-based systems and understandings of a melee or martial have a very practical root. So you have to understand why. And when you understand why, things start to make more sense. Let me see. We'll talk examples. These knives are functionally, very similar in length. This one's obviously longer, but not a terrible lot longer, which might surprise people when at the glance because of the. So you have to ask yourself, why is this knife? And it's funny because these two actually are more related than you want to admit if you can see the belly. So let me see what I have. 1 second. I need one more knife. This one will do. Cool. Okay. And part of my junk. So we have 3 knives, all relatively similar length. Not the same. Good evening, John. Now this is based on a trench knife. This is a very straight dagger, reinforced spike. Theoretically, no one wants to see the belly. Well, we're going to get into the belly of the knife, not the belly of the man. But so thrust oriented, you can cut with it, but as you can see, it moves. Now, you take something like this, the FE9, which is one of my favorite knife designs of all time. I have my sub-hilt, but my sub-hilt is actually in the living room because I was drilling with it. I may be acquiring more of those. I really like those knives, and they're getting cheap. This has that concave belly. And if you realize, when you look at that, you realize these two both share that very, while it's exaggerated, this very Why is that, friends? Well, when you take a flat knife and you hit a surface, I do this and it slices down, but that pulls the motion. Let me see if I can get this where you see. Oh, I'm losing part of my brace. God, I feel like a low-budget cyborg in these things. But, okay. The nice thing is, look, I can hit that part and I have a little bit of armor protection. Down. And it slides off. Now, we take this knife, we do the same thing, and I can feel the difference because it doesn't slide off as readily. More of the force is driven up, giving a deeper impact to the penultimate. Like you can't even it's almost impossible to get that drag cut, that slashing draw cut. It bites in because the mass and the force of the angle is designed to grab hold with the chop, to sink in, not slide off, which is really interesting when you look at a knife. Look, do I have something? Let me see. I need to look at this. Okay. Now, this part of the blade isn't terribly interesting, but when you get to the end where this blade strikes, you notice there's a distinct upward flare. These two are a very, actually similar angle. Look at this. You can see the angle is telling, and they're designed to do the exact opposite thing. So what that means is that where this is designed to catch and sever, this is designed to slice cleanly, opening up a longer, albeit often shallower, wound channel. Why? Wait, Nick, you're talking practicality of weapon. Why would I say especially with something like this. And if I had to, okay, we'll even take this. Because this is a hybrid. And that's what's kind of cool of it. It has that outer. So if I'm hitting with the outer edge, the longer cuts, I can get that drag. What that means is I can do damage without entanglement. Okay? We live in a world where, okay, this is a sword. We take a sword, right? Let me get something natural. Here we go. This goofy guy. It was a partisan head I was working on. It turned it into a pseudo dagger. But you see this, and there are two basic ways something this goofy shape is meant to do. Straight in stab, open up a big wound, pull out. Cool. Or a hack, a blow in terms. I'm a hit it. A strike. Hit. Theoretically cleave, pull back, hit, cleave, pull back. So in body mechanics, that fights a lot like this. Axe, baby. Din, 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 din. Anyway. That's what this knife does. Now putting this axe down to this. This, when you axe, it pulls it, turns it a little bit, it draws the wound into the sweet spot of the belly to give a wrap damage and just bite in. Whereas this, so you hear that. Stabs are talked about. Slashes, not slashes, blows are talked about, but cuts, especially like a slash cut or a draw cut, you'll see a lot. I am very fond, as an old fencer, of a certain type of draw cut. The sit and slice. Why do I like draw cuts so very much versus, say, just a traditional I poke you dead? Well, if I poke you, you dead. Now I have to get that back out. That's a separate motion. So it adds a beat to the tempo. I stab, I retract, I go do something else. Bum, bum, bum. Right? So this is going to sound funny, but we clap it out. Stab and pull and Oh. Let me finish my point, then I will get to that. Now, with a slicing weapon or a slashing weapon, it's not a strike. Now, I can take a strike and through training loose wrist and turn it into a slash, which old school fencers, and people have known me, I'm very good at breaking it just before contact so that there's no resistance. So that instead of hitting and cutting only here with maximum force, I nearly circumvent the offending limb. Why? Why? Because instead of stab, retract, go stab something else, it's I cut this and I'm already on my way. It goes from to one beat. Slash you. So in 2 beats, I've done 2 attacks where it would be 3 beats for a stab. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. That mid reset beat becomes very important. Even if somebody's being crazy and they're using like the double sewing machine offense, it's still a slash does a lot more integrated. So there's more fluidity to it. Stab and tear through. Well, yeah, John's just like, well, John, you stab at an angle, so it just opens up and you tear through that. But that's still 3 beats. Stab, tear through, re-stab. Now, as Master Cam says, never forget to re-stomp the groin. And I have no problem with the mercy is the mark of a good man. Great man. Well, I guess I'm a good man. I'm okay. Got no problem with that. And that is great against one opponent. Now, what does Nick focus on? One opponent or there's always another hole out there. That's right. So what I want to do is damage and disable this guy. Kill him if I must, but damage and disable this opponent and use that in a manner that moves me to my next. Now, how I do that depends on the weapon I'm holding and my intention. Am I the aggressor? Am I defensive? Has a lot to do. But as funny as John, I worked a lot of this out with you figuring this stuff out. Because John's the king of, and I'm just going to do a draw cut across your face, and that's going to end that. I still remember that. But this weapon will do both. This weapon will stab, but it just won't draw as well. It's not made for that. Now, this has the benefit of it's made to land that, go. I got that. A little bit of this action doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Now, I like this. If you're a boxer, this is a great, because the fast retract deploy, it will kill. Yes, great fun. But you still have to understand, and that's where the shallow long cut kind of comes in. This, as much as I love this is not really happy with a grazing slash motion. It wants to hit the belly. It wants to bind up so it can do the most damage or just chop through. This is a kudzu killer, okay? This design. Now, why does that matter? Okay. I can use all these. If it has an edge, I can make it go. If it has a handle, I can make it go. If it has a point, I can make it go. Maybe not 100% as intended, but you pick up a weapon, I can feel the balance and say, what are you telling me? And I let the weapon talk to me. And different weapons have different tones and they have different things. And a little tongue in cheek, but it's like this is a what? Cut off their arm? What? Vorpal dagger? F them up, Okay, this has that World War I. Just right. This is one of the most barbaric, and I don't mean that in untrained. I mean it's a very raw, very visceral style weapon, and that's why I think they're so scared of them. This is one of the most common knife styles that is banned because it is both very protective of your knuckles, and if you learn a little bit of a modified grip, it becomes a devastating tool. So I think that's part of why these are so popular to ban. Then you get something like this, which is a very versatile, very refined cutter. But it's still, if you look at the blade orientation, it lines up for a very nice stab. Very smooth. And retention hooks. So this is very ergonomic. And the older I get, obviously, the more ergonomic happens. Now, because some of you don't turn on your comments, like I say you should, you may have missed our good friend John Miner of Swakhammer Metals saying, for your information, a box is on the way from Swakhammer Metals. One promised item, which I honestly don't remember, and one for you to finish from the shop. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to get my little gnomish hobbitish paws on a project. That's exciting news. Sykes Barbarian Fighting Dagger. Okay. I'm either misreading that, there were some fat fingers in typing, Oh, got you. Awesome. I know what he's talking about now. I get you. We are same page, John. I can't wait. Now, that does bring up to the people who are on the Historical Fencing Guild list, I did share the Amazon link that I was requested by Stef Mari, and I'm just experimenting. Not a lot of items, but useful things are on there for if people want to purchase and send to me. If it becomes a more common thing, I may go so far as to get a P.O. box so I can have it sent, and I don't have people showing up at my doorstep. But we'll see. Now, I'm really looking forward to that. If that's what I think it is, oh my. But, wow, 40 minutes, folks. Okay, I need a bit of a drink. Hold on. Cleanse the palate. Now, we need to talk because I know winter has hit us hard and the COVID has hit us hard, and a lot of us aren't training, we aren't drilling. And I have no problem if you physically can't. There are days where I can barely hold a pencil. And there are days where I feel, I'm not, about 3-4 days ago, I woke up and my back was spasming and everything. But yeah, if you understand this, sometimes one pain will be bad enough it drowns out the other. So I'm like, But I'm tight. So I got this bad boy out. And yeah, I have all the swords and trainers in the world, but a lot of times I like something versatile. Most of the time, I'll use one of my dowel rods with the little chair feet on them because they're very light and, again, versatile. And I use it to just get the, hey, that's nice. Get the nice flow. And a lot of my stick fighting comes from Too Cold for Jonathan to be a pal. John, get some little short buffers and go. He could be a pal in the garage or the basement. John's a good pal. Little Jonathan is a good pal. Little Jonathan is like, I'm somewhere between chest and belly button high on the kid, and yeah, he'll be a kid as long as I know him, Jonathan. But him and Tommy, I miss Tommy. He was nuts. He was also my roommate for a while. But these fluid, easy to work motions are good. And what you need to do, when you do Tai Chi, you do it every day. You do it slow, and you learn how your body moves. Now, I did some Tai Chi way back in the day, and then I started fencing, and I realized it was the same thing. So very long time ago, I lost a lot of the Tai Chi motions that didn't fit either with my mobility or what I was trying to do. And I started to integrate almost like fencing kata motions. And it's not one of those I ever codified because it changes every time because I go by what's tight, what's sore, what opening does the motion mean. That's okay. Hi, Jonathan. It's okay. I don't expect you to catch every reference. I am caffeinated, and I almost got something like sleep, so I'm flying high. And I am, of course, co-hosted by my lovely co-host, my manatee, brought to me by Cindy Cat. I love this guy. He lives right by my thing. I just have to keep him clear of all the trainers because I don't want to hit him. But when you're training alone, don't think you have to train like anybody else, and don't think it has to be perfect. It's manatees. I think manatees might be the perfect pacifist animal in that they're just chill. Yes, John, you chi. John Chi is push hands on steroids. I will chi blast small little hobbit men across the room. Nothing wrong with that. But we also, little guys focus on redirection. And, if you have something that works with like a sword-like object, go through your drills, chain them, and what you do is you're slowly experimenting. Because, okay, example, real simple. If I'm in 6th, my natural progression is down into 7th. That's also where I'm very weak. But, because obviously it counters it. If I'm way up here guarding my inside upper quadrant, right? That's what this lovely A-frame guard. Here, look, I'm a Jedi. Anyway, my weakest quadrant is the 7, the low outside thigh butt, because all my defense is up here. That's part of why it flows. But a lot of people don't think, okay, sword, what are you doing with your offhand? Well, that gets interesting. If it's something I can use, it might be a two-handed. A lot of folks have seen this maneuver come up. Catch the sword, especially if there's a cross piece to catch it. Move it and either cut it away, drop the tip and lunge it, options. But as soon as you know where your guard is, maybe I need to cross block. Or, okay, I've switched, drop the hand and cross block. You have options, and you start, the more you play with how you move, the more you learn. And I said play explicitly. We have lost mentally as adults the importance of what I consider aware play. Like, no, you're just screwing around. You know how much stuff I have learned screwing around in the backyard? Sure, you get a framework. And you study the books, you study the manuals, watch my videos. But, like, I'm giving you pieces to put together, right? How you phrase your sentence. And understand, every combat is a type of dialogue. It's just a dialogue of violence. So, when you're the person who's, think of the guy, you know what, I'll give you an example. Buddy Pete Pidrak. I don't know if you're still watching these videos, Pete. I miss you. You're a good guy. Politically, Pete and I clash all the time. And attitude-wise, Pete came from a big, loud family. He's a big, loud guy. Not a bad thing, but that's his fighting style. Is going to be saying, "Hi, I'm going to jump in your shorts now." Okay, that's what I'm about. I'm going to dictate the control of this conversation. No. It's about me. Eyes here. And that same approach, no, you're not doing that. You're doing what I tell you to. Oh, that very commanding, is an approach. It's not a style. It's a dialect. And I really like this terminology. I may be revisiting it. I'm an audio thinker, guys, so you guys get to hear me think out stuff sometimes fresh. But it's a dialect. Now, then there were people who are like Amanda's Uncle George, or Bob could be like this when a guy I used to fence with, when he could control his temper. And that's I don't care what you're going to do. I'm going to minimal respond till you mess up, and then I'm going to wreck your world. And when it comes, there's nothing you can do about it. If he stayed in that scope, he would have been infinitely more deadly as a fighter. But he let showing off pull him out sometimes. And I know a lot of people like that. I get like that. I'm having fun. Then I know people like Stef Mari. Oh my gosh, is she a fun fight? Stef fights very aggressive. If you took the pom-poms out of the world's most manic cheerleader and gave them mini battle axes, little hack like these guys, just let's go. Put a shield on her. Let's go. She will destroy your knees and ankles. The fight just comes. I'm going to tell you everything we're doing, and I'm going to hit it right now, and you're going to listen to me because I demand your attention. Let's go. I love very aggressive energy fights. And I've known people who will just nope. Nope is one of my favorite fighting styles. I've actually developed it for years. And if I'm in the right mentality, Nope is it. What do I mean by the nope dialect? I don't want to fight you. I'm going to lean. I'm going to bob. I'm not going to hard parry, but I will deflect that over here. Get out of here with that. I don't. This isn't happening. Not pop. I told you to get out of here. You know, and you get this very fluid. No, not. Let's be cool. Are we gonna be cool? Fine. Pow. Oh, I'm gonna cut your shin. Are we gonna be cool now? No. Then I'm gonna have to kill you. That sort of reluctant. You know who's a great note? Probably the patron saint of note fighting in movies is Jackie Chan. In like 80% of his roles. 80% of his roles, if you pay attention, Jackie's on the defensive. And that's when he's at his best. Jackie is Zorro. He is the fox. He is the no. Bad day. He does. But that other 20%, maybe 5 to 20%, when he decides he's on, holy smokes. When no, because you will not parry death. You know what I mean? This is, and that's one of the beautiful things because they relate. You need to find your dialect, and even if you pick up a style, you have to now understand that you're going to fight like you. Now, there's a thing around the guild that gets talked about. I don't teach people how to fight. I teach a basic dialogue, and then I teach them and help them how to find their fight. And when you are sitting by yourself because of weather and viral contamination, it's a wonderful time to really be introspective a bit and go, what appeals to you? What feels right? What is my niche? Do I like longer weapons? Do I like shorter weapons? Do I like thicker, like, you know, this is a much thicker gauge in diameter than this. You know, what length? This is a big old short staff. It's about 5 feet long. I love this thing. It's a little shorter, maybe 4.5. I have to remeasure it. I love this thing, but it's radically different than a lot of the things I fight with. And then, how do I move? So, when you're drilling, yes, I will. My very first video was recorded so that people could go through the numbered drills. Here you go, people offside, bad situation, but still in control. Yeah. But when you're training, if you're aggressive, if you know you're an aggressive fighter, you can slowly be aggressive. You can spend a lot of time advancing around. And you got to realize there's drilling for control and then building up speed. So this is I'm going to learn body language. 80% of your training really should be slow. If you're doing katas, it should be slow. If you're doing drills or whatever, there is no... Oh, photo did not attach. That probably won't work real well through the YouTube. Shoot it through Messenger, and I'll see, what comes up. I have another message. Oh, okay. Let me see. Sorry. Oh, no. There. Yeah. Exactly. John is doing a low block in his image, but it's also he's basically doing one of these. Oh, sorry. No. This guy. Had to think about. Because John fights. Okay, I can't do the wrist motion that John is doing right now because of my braces. Give me a second. This won't last long. Not bad. I had them off for a little bit today to help with this part, but oh, sorry. I touched that. We'll move that for a second, but John's fighting extended and he's here. I still don't have the full rotation to get that down. Oh, that's what's wrong. Downward block. This hand won't do it. It just, the way he's doing it, it just mechanically, I can't rotate that way. But that's, yeah, you cover what works. I got to put those braces back on, so it'll be just a second. I'll talk to you while I do it. Don't worry. Oh, I'm not throwing up gang signs. I am not attempting to flick anyone off. The nerve damage in my wrist and hands makes me kind of gesticulate oddly at the end of the day. And because I work on Fridays, unfortunately, you guys are kind of, I can't, when my hand calms down, I can pick up the phone, but the phone is too narrow for my fingers to, you see this? Yeah, my fingers won't close around it right now. So I will show the picture, but I've had people, Nick, why do you show that you can't do something or that it doesn't work? I show my mistakes so that people aren't afraid to make theirs. I want everyone to be comfortable because rest assured, however foolish you think you feel learning how to do this, I have done something probably stupider, and I've done so sober. And I want you guys to see the limitations because I want you to understand I'm not some guy sitting here throwing platitudes who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get this to come off now. Yes, mistakes are great. Sometimes you learn something you didn't. Sometimes you learn your limitations, and then sometimes later you find you can excel it. This is what John was talking about. Now you'll see that supercation of his hand is way over here. Ain't no way that my arms will let me make that. It's a very interesting pairing. But that's, yes. Okay. I am going to use a bit of a cliche. I don't normally do that, but I will. The more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle. It's an ancient and accurate truth, and it's one I'm fighting because nerve damage is very strange. It doesn't feel like muscle weakness, and it doesn't feel like bone weakness. It feels very very treacherous. Your body is lying to you because you know if it would just listen and do what it's told, it can do what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't want to. So it messes with you. It's a very strange condition. And that's okay. We work through it. But yes, I've known so many people, especially in this field, who they orbit with bravado and balderdash. They just flat out lie to you guys. And I hate that. I hate I am invincible. Behold my glory, bow down to me. Martial arts tradition. So, believe it or not, we've made it through the first hour of the show, or just barely. So I'm going to take a minute to thank my sponsors, that being The Simple Sword, available through Amazon.author.com. Amazon/author/Nicholas Tucker. Likewise with Big Stompy Robots. A huge shout out to Luke Stone over at Terraform Comics. The Hybrids RPG is going to let you guys get in faster, easier, more elegantly to any superhero field you've ever had with no issue. So really, I've spent a year working on this. Follow Luke Stone. Follow up. A huge shout out to Steve Augosto, Stef Mari, Cindy Kep, Brian K. Morris. Also, a huge shout out to Steve Clausen, whom we're working on some stuff, and I'm delaying my merch deal so I can try to do it with him instead of some of my other offers, because bros before dough. And John Miner of Swakhammer Metals, who I hope starts developing more training gear and possibly his own training video series. I would love to see the big guy putting some stuff out. But thank you for that. Support Rising Tide Publishing and the other members of the Rising Tide broadcast network, such as Cindy Kep. Oh, wait, I don't know. Cindy, do you have a show? I just brain farted. I know you have an amazing newsletter, but Brian K. Morris, who is one of my patrons and just an amazing man. TED Talks, the guys at Stupid O'Clock, brought to you by Holocon. All these folks are great folks. I'm going to stop because I lose engagement if I go too long. But thank you. Now, second hour of the show. Guys, train. Pick one style and learn it. I will say I have suggestions on that first style. In that, what family? I was talking earlier before I got distracted about the oh yes, Steve Clausen's going to do a not very family friendly program, but he's going to do some other good stuff. Yes, I know. Cindy Kep, you are an utterly charming and wonderful person, and you should never hesitate to be to put your stuff or yourself out there. Your ideas are sound. Snowmobiles. Man, the Yetis are going to eat you, and I'm going to laugh. Anyway, sorry. They're just going to go back and forth now because that's a thing. God, I really did miss those spots. But don't hesitate. And if you can't do your show, I know several people who use a video mascot where they put a small stuffed animal or something and then they talk over it. If only you knew someone who could knit something or crochet or whatever this sorcery is. Strings and I don't get along. If only they could be her mascot. Yeah. So just make something, put that in front of the camera, and talk for it. But, so yeah, you need to do that. And see, my problem is I live in a nebulous future space where ideas that people have become tangible. Let me see. That is all drivel. Wow. Okay. I have some other things to do, but we will deal with that in a moment. And that will deal with much later. Anyhow. But yeah, Steve has some great things coming. I will plug it. The folks at the Rising Tide Networks have great things. It's really exciting for me because I'm like on the cusp. I said I would publish in February at least something. Now, those of you who heard that my essay on axe fighting just disappeared. I honestly don't know what happened to it. I don't know where it went. I can't find head nor tails of it. It just vaporized. So I will probably have to rewrite that. I think I'm okay with that. But in doing so, in looking for it, I found the original proto copy. No, I didn't forget to get help. I honestly haven't had time to try to bug you to get help. I will bother you if need be. Steve, I'm pretty sure you could find what all has gone missing in the Bermuda Triangle and like the Japanese files for recreating Marilyn Monroe. But I can't believe I just said that. Okay. So, sorry, I need a fidget spinner type thing, and this guy's going to help because my fidget spinner is somewhere buried under things, and I don't care to dig it out. Okay, so we have really neat things coming, and I want you guys to keep focus on that, okay? Because we have a talent. We have the ability to concoct things, make them happen, and make them real. And I realized what point I lost. For my patrons, 2 days ago, 3 days ago? I don't know, bad time. I found an original proto. Yes, a Karambit is my fidget spinner. The Karambit is the Karambit trainer that's usually right here is my fidget spinner. In that I twirl it around, and that it makes me feel better. I did find out we can't do that on other programs. It makes the hosts nervous in like meetings and such. Well, you guys know me. You know what I'm about. Anyway, in the early aughts, we're talking 01, 02. I may have still been engaged at the time. It's real easy. No, it was a little after that. It might have been 05 because it was shortly after the Simple Day event that nearly killed me due to heat stroke. I wrote a very brief intro to how to fight in a melee if you've never fought in a melee before. Awesome, John. I can't wait to see what you're up to. But and it obviously I didn't disseminate it, and it became. I looked at it and realized, in part, no, this should be part of the Simple Sword, which at the time had a different name that was a little more complex and florid. Yeah, HR. Isn't it funny how HR says, please don't use weapon trainers whilst doing videos. They get cranky about that. But so I did this, and I've added that file to the collection for my patrons. The Patreon members will shortly, bare minimum, be getting the intro to the staff fighting video. Not video. I might do a video if you guys are interested. But making the budget staff, which is a section from the Strong Sword, and a sort of intro to that will be thrown up maybe by the end of this month if all goes well. And then I'm going to publish things. I just don't know which of my projects are going to start publishing because I'm going to hit a run real soon where a lot of the stuff I've been doing, the duck feet, where I just look like I'm not really moving, but my feet are going like nuts, will be under the water, it's going to come flying to the surface. And people are like, what is all this? Oh, look, there's 3 iterations of a game system. Oh, look, there's, big stompy robots. There's Beneath Bargain. All this stuff is building. So if I seem like I'm carrying a little bit more anxious mojo energy, it's because I know what's coming next. But I want it to serve you guys. So if there's stuff you want from me, you want discussion, you want advice, related or unrelated, I serve my community. That's what I do. That's what I'm about. We build people up. We be lanterns in the dark. We be lanterns in the dark. Wow, that would be like reverse piracy, and it needs to be a sea shanty. And I can't believe I said piracy and sea shanty without completely train wrecking that. But really, it's a milk dud. And look, boo, 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 boo. Yes. Sydney kept. I'm sorry, I was talking. I didn't see the note. Sydney kept one of my proudest family traditions. It's not you're not running. It's a tactical advance to the rear. This is a long-standing Tucker tradition. I like to think of myself as either a crawdad or Oddball's tank from Kelly's Heroes. Being we got 2 gears forward and 3 in reverse. We like to know we can get out of trouble faster than we got into it. But absolutely. And that was actually written under a retired nom de plume. Well, in that case, it's a nom de plume, my old SCA handle, which I've had a lot of names over the years. And I'm known in certain circles under different names. And how people know me, ironically, tells me a lot about the people who dropped the name. I know roughly where they are, when they are. And it has come up in interesting circles because I did run into one or two that I never expected to see again in polite company. But that would be Shades at Holly's, because Steve wanted to introduce me to his friends. Sorry, my blood sugars aren't terribly happy with me right now, so I'm doing something about it, hence the milk duds. But one second. Yes. I'm not going to say that because right now my my business partner is a Florida pastor, so I'm not going to explain that nickname here. But yes, in very small circles, I wore that, and ironically, I wore it with pride. But that is not a story for this channel. But at least not tonight. What I'm saying is we need to train. We're going to pull all the way back. I've been kind of scatterbrained today, but you guys seem to like it. I've noticed if I'm bouncing off the little four walls like a pong ball, boom, 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 you guys haven't heard. Wow, Mr. Boots. Oh, the last person who tried to call me Mr. Boots was a supposed Viking in blue jeans who had an incredibly phallic hat. But wow. He nearly died by Melisande. That would have been hilarious. Anyway, yes, I still can't believe that encounter happened, Steve. And yeah, John. Yeah, you know it. The book was written under the name Bastion. Now I have to look to see if it was Bastion of Greyhope or Bastion de Montfort. Been both. They were very similar, but not quite the same person, I find. And then, like I said, there are a few others, but who would ever name all their aliases online? That would be stupid. So there's no way anybody who knows me, and I mean anybody, knows all of them. And that's good. I like to have a few secrets, guys. I'll lose all my charm, all my mysterious allure. But the answer is bag it, tag it. Sorry, snag it, bag it, and tag it. That's the job description most of the time. Okay? Good. Now, getting back, when I say train, what should you train with? If you don't know, pick something. Yeah, John, I'm Steve, I'm harmless. I'm just a harmless little hobbit. I've never done anything terribly interesting. I just occasionally teach people to play with sticks in the backyard. And there's very little evidence otherwise. And what evidence is there, I can usually deny. But we're talking about training. I'm going to grab one of my favorite training tools right here. I will not recommend this as a training tool because it's expensive. This is my custom cane. It's a carbon fiber cane. It weighs a couple ounces. It floats. It is beat up more than it should be. And it has a glow-in-the-dark tip. Why am I recommending? It's light, and it is of a length I can swing it indoors. This might shock you, but you can grab a stick and use basic greatsword form indoors without the full length. Your spelling's off, John. Nice try, though. That's a title, less a name, and misspelled there too. But the stick can be everything. Okay, train with a knife is easy, short or anything roughly knife length. A stick, a staff. Again, note the short. Why? I can swing all these indoors and not beat my walls and ceiling up. Now, granted, that's part of why I like them as adventuring gear, because if I go much longer, we run into the Warglaive meets, I'm sorry, War Scythe meets the ceiling fan incident. But this is valid weapon, reasonably small length. I mean, I'm not going to demonstrate the actual length. It's about 5'6" all in all, but great little weapon. It does need a foot, and I may just, I'm not sure, I may permanently affix the middle. This is what you train with. I can do spear work in here. And a lot of spear work is just muscle memory, just slowly hang the tennis ball, make the little foam target. I showed you guys how to do it. Heck, I'm pretty sure I did it live. Make a target and practice. The trick is practice frequently, practice slowly. This is where the practice should be vaguely meditative, in that it's very much be aware of where you are and what you're doing, and don't worry about anything else. When you are practicing, that is what you're doing. Now, there are a couple ways to get into that optimal mental state. Breathing, practicing different ways to center, extreme existing. John says, I cannot. 36-inch hits the ceiling. Well, that's because, John, you're freaking gigantic. It's 36 inches, but it's up in the air. And you know it. Step outside. You're a big, burly hill giant of a man. At least your father must have, because I met your mother, and she's small and beautiful and terrifying. And if Oni, I love Oni. She's a wonderful woman. But, yeah. Anyway, we can't, we have to drill. And John, you know what you're doing. You can pick your style, pick a weapon, pick a boken, whatever, do what you need to do. I'm talking newbies here. Engaging. Now, I mean, you do it enough, and I can obviously do the staff fight motions even without a staff. And that's interesting, because when you start finding, you learn that the exact motions you use for one thing start to transfer to others. Where this type of block, which is just I've stabbed from a reverse, I'm going to flash that for a second, and brought it around. This is a very natural motion. Is remarkably similar to the catch the punch by the wrist, deflect it past your face, catch the elbow, apply pressure, and rotate down into a rudimentary hold or redirect. I don't like to hold on, because most people can break out of, I don't have the strength. So it's just, I'm going to redirect you into that couch over there if I'm nice. I'm going to redirect you into that wall if I'm not. And then move on. Because the problem, well, anyway, when you're training, find it, and then you'll start to find that, okay, this is an omni stick, for lack of a better word. I can do all the motions, the sweeps, the strikes, the pool cues that I would do with a staff or a spear. I can short shank it a bit, and I have my Joe / Boken kind of. I can get it. I can practice from a draw. Very simple, very elegant, very easy. I don't have room to do pretty swirls in here sitting down, but I can do swirls, and it's heavy enough that the weight builds up. I would rather train with once you're in shape And if you can handle it, so this isn't a shot at somebody like Cindy. If you can handle it, train with a heavier weapon. That will make you last longer with a lighter weapon. So, if I walk around with a cane that weighs next to nothing, or one of my famous dowel rod carved canes or something, weighs about 25% less than this, I do my drills with this. That thing's going to be lighter and more responsive. But you do what you need to that works. And you tailor your weapon and your training to your skill set and your capacity physically. It is time that we stop treating physical limitation like a moral failing. Because that has gotten... I understand how we got there. We got there as a relic from trial by combat, which is frickin' drivel. And yeah, is it historical? Sure. Is it widely preached in certain major organizations? Absolutely. What does it prove? It proves that either they can shrug off blows better than you can, they're less honorable than you are, or that they have more physical strength. That doesn't mean they can run something. Wow, I'm so American. I'm sorry. I'm tired of that focus. I'm tired. Why does that piss me off? Because if you're saying, by being stronger, you are better, that means if someone's weaker, they are worse. And all that serves, all that exists to do, is to be a placation to the bully mentality. This is what lets people think, well, I'm justified in beating you up because if I can beat you up, I should be able to beat you up. Yada, yada. God bless Colonel Colt on that one, friends. God made man, Colonel Colt made him equal. But got a little bit of fire going off of that one. But we can't let that internalized crud. That's pond scum. That's turkey weeds, stuff that jams up boat motors. It's useless, and it gets in our heads, and it's like, well, I'm not strong enough, so what does it matter? Or I'll never win a tourney. What does it matter? Or I'll never be number one. What does it matter anyway? Get over that. It matters to you. It means you are more than who and what you were a minute ago. That maybe you have a capacity, and even if you don't, you're maintaining it. And even if you're losing it, you're trying. And I will, till my dying day, believe, contrary to the whole Jedi do or do not, they can just sit on it and spin. Trying has value. Failing has education. I have learned more from when I've failed than when I've won. And winning gets you that a thing. But we can't let the internalized view that because we're physically limited or we're just not as gifted, just different, as someone else, we don't have value. That's balderdash. I work hard not to swear on this channel very much, and it's making it real hard. But so what you do is you figure out what works with you, what's compatible with your physical and mental state, and what you want, and then you do it. You do it slowly so that you understand what you're doing. And then once you've gotten control, you get to do something called a speed drill. What's speed drilling? Speed drills, when you're really good at what you've done your slow work, you get out your little radio, your cell phone, your boombox. You hit up the song. Everyone has that one song for whatever reason. Usually it's pretty driving beat that makes you want to mess something up. You set up a target, a pell, a boxing bag. I mean, you take weapon or style of choice, you crank that to 11. Why not just make it 10 and make it bigger? No, 11. And you go. And you go hard and you go fast. This is crucial if you're learning survival knife fighting. If you're learning survival knife fighting, and I'm not talking pretty stuff, I'm talking how to shank a dude. This is based largely from a wonderful book, Knife Fighting Techniques from Folsom Prison. Download the PDF, buy it, whatever. It's a great book for understanding the real brutality of knife fighting. Knife fighting is different than fencing, than dagger fighting, than sword fighting. Knife fighting's ugly, it's fast, and it's brutal. And you train in part by just do. Because when you make contact, it's not one cut done. No, it's go. Hence this. You'll note this that discussion called to this weapon right here. It's like, yes, I'm going to maliciously F somebody up. Bam, 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 bam. Aggression. And you will get cut. That's part of knife fighting. You will get cut. Embrace it, because guess what? If you're prepared for it and it doesn't happen, you're okay. If you're not, and it does, you're messed up. And getting cut sucks. But I'll just say, I have scars. You ever notice I have a little shallow scar, but the light always hits real funny right across here on me? Not so much on that side, but it's like a weird extra wrinkle. That's because I caught a spiked knife with my face. I'm sorry, spiked ring, big spiked ring with my face, and nearly lost my eyebrow. Well, I did. It flapped. It came back. It's quite luxurious. But my point being, yeah, when weapons come out, people get hurt. And that's why I like sticks better than knives. And that really messes. When it comes to defense, a lot of times I reach for a stick. And that is a moral and a legal, as in legal defense, option. I want to say I consciously chose to take a limited response. Can I kill somebody with a stick? Abso-fraggin-lutely. But if I'm using a stick, because if I pull a knife, my little knife, this is a tool. A lot of people call this a weapon, and yes, it could be used as one. It locks in real nice. If you want the ice pick, it's not going anywhere. If you want a more daggery grip, it works too. This is a tool, and not because of the blade length being an issue. Although I think it's probably going to get shorter because I think it has fault. It really, really looks... I thought it was just... But looks like... Let me see if I can get that to show. You see it? See the discoloration in the depth? I'm pretty sure that's a fault line. That means that tip is probably going to come off at some point. Which doesn't bug me too much, because these are meant to be used, and if they break, they go away. But if I use this, the only place that a knife like this would be effective, unless a brief cut by intimidation, is probably going to be life-threatening. Not much graduated response. A gun is worse. What I mean by that is, if you pull a gun, you're killing the person. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Not a good thing, but it may be a necessary thing. Old Babylon 5 fans will understand what I'm talking about. But, well, yeah, no, see, but my wife gave it to me. My wife gave me this model, so while I could exchange it, I'll probably put it back if it breaks, and switch out to a standard black drop point, the standard black minimalist that I used to carry, because it's a little sturdier. The problem with Bowie cut is the blade is actually let me see if I can get this. The spine is narrowed because of the distal taper. And it's really good for very precise, tiny cuts. But yeah, there's actually a little bit of a bend there, isn't there? Let me see if I can get this to focus. Yeah, there's a little bit of a tip bend in that. I couldn't see it because, it's awful tiny, but that's fascinating. Anyway, I love this knife, don't get me wrong. And I use it, but I'll use it till it breaks, and then I'll probably regrind it because that's who I am. And like I said, she gave this to me. I'm also, if it dies, I want to see if I could take the panels off and put it on my black knife because I like the glow in the dark. But I like the black blade for other reasons, and not what you're thinking. Not like da 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 da. Look, I'm a spy. I got a black blade. They won't see it coming. Come on. If you can't conceal this, you're smoking dope. But this is a tool. Now, what do I use this for? I cut wood, I cut boxes, I open things. Actually, I'm a librarian and I find this scrapes labels. Labels that were wrong that I have to change out. I hit them with some Goo Gone, scrapes right off. Tool. Now, I do. Now, if I'm carrying something more like this little dude, this is also a tool, but this is a little more aggressive. If I pull out my mini K-bar, that crosses the line into being a mechanic's wrench, which again, nice false H on the. Isn't it? This is the Bowie. This is the Bowie point. And the Foltz Design Minimalists are some of the best knives in the GD world. I can't complain about these. I am a nightmare as a knife owner. And yeah, it's got some discoloration because I basically use it. And this also came with a really cute painted gear motif, and it was very cute. It was meant more as a, look, this is a cool, nice little knife, but I see these as tools and I use them. And every morning I put this dang thing on and I wear it. I also like the glow in the dark because when the power goes out, the first thing I do is put the knife on, and with one hand I put the knife on, with the other I grab the light. Whether I turn it on or not depends on what I'm hearing. But wonderful tools. I can't. I was actually in conversation on, of all things, a Night Vale fan page. People were talking about the difference between city folks who carry knives in their mentality and country folks. And a lot of people who live city lives don't understand why country folks like their knives. And it comes to what you're doing. And that divide, I would love to do more discussion on because that's the biggest divide in America. The mental divide of what it's like to live in a rural situation versus what it's like to live in an urban. Well, yeah, mini K-bar is a good concealable tool, especially in your hands, John. But reminding you that I am much smaller. My tools are smaller. It just fits. John, you couldn't hold on to this. Well, no. Well, you can. That's how it would fit in your hand. That's how it fits in Steve's hand. He finds it hilarious. I personally love this thing. I'm thinking of making a new sheath for it, though, because I've used this to great effect whilst camping and hiking. I actually delimbed a fairly large log that I needed to get through. That's what I had on me, so that's what I used. But jelly baby. Anyway, when you're training, pick tools that fit what you want to do, and then do it. Also, if a trainer is not available for what you have, make one. Trainers don't need to be that expensive. Or commission somebody like John or Steve to arrange something like that to be made. And as they get more audiences, I'll explain it. But John says, I carry an old style Gerber multi-tool and a bucklock blade as my personal tools. I have a Husky multi-tool that I'm rather fond of carrying when I leave. I got it when I was working at Home Depot. And I realized I'm more likely to carry something if it's quality enough to work, but cheap enough that it doesn't kill me if it gets broken or lost. So there's this balance there. I call it the craftsman clause. I love craftsman tools, old school, mind you. Now, my first real screwdriver set that I owned myself that were quality were actually Snap-on, because I was working trying to put the stairs on an RV. I was setting up the stairs. I was laying on my back on a piece of cardboard, hotter than Hades, and I had this screwdriver that I got from the garbage can at work, because they didn't give me any tools, but they expected me to do stuff. And I borrowed one of the mechanics' angle grinders and flattened it out. Yeah, isn't it? And this ugly, gnarled, half-melted Chinese black-handled thing. And I'm working on this, and I hear the shadow passes over me, and I hear, "What is that?" I go, "Oh, excuse me, sir. No, that's just my screwdriver. That is not. Can I see that?" And he takes it, and honest to God, just chunks it into the ditch. And I'm looking at him, and he goes, just wait. And he hands me a Snap-on full-length flathead, a slightly shorter Phillips head, and they are my favorite screwdrivers of all time. But I can't afford them. I'd have to mortgage my house for some of those tools. So they don't come with me when I go out. Now, some of the I'm contemplating. Nah. Anyway, some firefight tools. Now, see, that's different. John says firefight tools. Gerber has been with me a long time. You know this. Yes. Now, that's a different situation. When you are and that's interesting you mention it, because when your tools are life and death, and you know it, you carry a different breed. This is why the United States military isn't packing high points. Maybe that wasn't the nicest thing to say. Because but yeah. And the other thing is, when you're a professional, a real professional has professional grade tools and they know how to use them. But we live in a nation. Wow, here it comes again. We live in a nation where people feel that they can buy prestige by simply throwing money at tools that they have no idea how to use. I will tell you, my grandfather could do anything with anything. But my father-in-law, Charlie, rest in peace, could do more with the baling wire and a pair of clippers and his whole buck knife than about 90% of people put together. It's the mechanic, it's not the tools. That being said, it's hard to get to England in a dinghy. So you have to balance that out. When you're a pro, you use pro tools. And it's interesting because I said pro, not mil-spec. There are factors. You look at a lot of historical weapons, and you'll find something interesting. The weapons carried by enlisted men tended to be far less featured, far more rugged, sometimes than the job requires, at times to nearly a detriment. Whereas what the officers who were asked to purchase their own commissions, which in this case is manifest by you buy your own sidearm, you buy your own sword, was a much more. Why? Because when you're buying for a military application, it has to be not just idiot proof, but infantry proof. Whereas when you're buying for your own gear, it is tailored to what if you're at all intelligent, it's tailored to what you want precisely. It fits you, and it does how you want it to go. That's why you find strange things where I have seen like English swords used by British officers in India had Indian style blades because they liked the way they moved better. Well, that's my point. Steve says military grade does not mean good quality. No, it usually means reasonably durable. It gets weirder with firearms, and I'll be the first to admit it. And firearms are not my domain. That's why I have people like Steve and John and John Scarborough over at Stupid O'Clock for the Marine Perspective. I have these people who are more versed, and I defer to them. That's how expertise works. But you have to realize as an individual that your gear is your gear. And that goes all the way back to the martial arts stuff. So while cost is always, because of my standing, a factor, it also lends me, if I spend money on something, folks, it better be it. You know what I'm saying? That came undone in there. Well, I won't be showing that off now. There are other swords along this line. I actually have a early South Coast sword, very similar weapon. Why is this in the house and that's sitting out in the garage? This is lighter and it fits what I need more, even though it's cheaper, both in cost and in quality. I mean, this would break first. It's not a nylon, but it works for what I do. And I understand the sacrifice. I've been thinking about that a lot because of some of my other passions. Well, actually, exactly. Lowest bid is not the best supplier, almost by necessity. And I have found, as a rule, the budget-minded individual does very well to look at, if you have a row of any given item, I have found that the quality difference between the absolute cheapest and the second cheapest is remarkable. You know what? John says I have spit on blades, just ask Benny. And I know that, but I would give just about anything to walk into a field and see Benny with his table set up of Pakistani crap swords. And you know what? If I had the money that I have now to throw at it, then I'd probably buy a bunch off of his table, even if I just used them as wall hangers, because I miss that man. But yeah, but the trick is, it's balancing that. You could buy the lowest. For a long time, there was a thing called the R3 rapier. $76. It had a cup can-shaped hilt. It's been since renamed when Zen Warrior Armory did sort of the soft relaunch of all their products. It's still financially the second best deal. You could actually do something that you could piecemeal something a couple bucks cheaper that I liked better. But if you go the next up, you run into their Saber Guard. And it was for a long time like $3 or $4 more bucks. And it, had better hilt. No, same hilt actually. Much better guard, nice wrap guard, usually better pommel. It was worth it to pay a few bucks more from the lowest level to the second lowest level. And when you're using amateur, especially to practical stuff, a lot of times that quality level in just about anything, when you start looking at, there's always a bargain basement absolute cheapest. And a lot of people mistakenly think I go for that. I almost never go for that because that's the one that's most likely to break. Now, if I say that's the one to get, I've tested it and it's worth it. But that second notch up so much of the time is so much better that it's really dramatic. The value of the difference in money versus the value and difference of quality is really worth it. And you need to think that way. You need to be critical of everything. And you are outfitting yourself. So if you are now, assuming you are a solo practitioner of Western or Eastern or Middle Eastern or Midwestern martial arts, you know, I have this horrible urge to like cross some swords and put some corn and on one side and ranch dressing on the other. But God, that's terrible. Midwestern martial arts. But sorry, that was funny, and it's still in the back of my mind. Yeah. Yeah. Well, also the trick with Benny was the king. He's the only person who'd have a table with a back room. That's where this came from originally. Now you replaced the cross guard, and I'm eternally grateful for that, and I replaced the blade, but it's the same sword. Spirit of the weapon. And yeah. Pick gear that feels right. And if somebody says, well, that's not fancy, unless they can prove to you in handling or quality or something that makes it worthwhile, just go, well, that's your opinion. I'm going to keep training. Or, well, this is a trainer that matches the knife I actually carry or the sword I actually have. There are a couple of machete trainers starting to leak out. Some are grotesquely overpriced, which I find hilarious that the machete trainers cost more than the machetes. But having a machete trainer that you practice with, even if it's just a few bouts at practice, you're like, yeah, I just want to screw around with this, and that's what you carry. It's totally worth it, and don't be afraid to do it. I don't tend to trying to purchase prestige unless you really know what you're talking about. And even then, if you're purchasing it solely for the prestige, tragically you're missing the point. It's like taking someone to the opera, like the Met in New York, the opera, and they have no idea what opera's about, but they want to go so that they can say, I went to the Met. You know, they're not appreciating it, and it seems gauche to me. It seems bad form almost. It's like there are some people who you could take and give them the absolute finest, and I don't mean necessarily expense, but finest quality food, and they'll go, it's a burger. You know what I mean? Like that's almost a waste on the creation. It's a waste on the creator's time. So you have to balance that out. Well, John, you're making personalized gear, and you're very knowledgeable. And if you slow down, your stuff can be amazing. I still think we need to get you a little apprentice. At points in my life, I've filled that role, whose sole job is to reach in the hard-to-get areas for those big old. Well, you got to figure if his hand is as big as mine, his fingers are twice as thick as mine, which means he can't reach some of the narrow spots. You need to get yourself a little hobbit apprentice, not me, because I'm retired, and my hands are useless. Nobody wants me for anything right now. To get the hard to reach areas and clean it up for you. I think that would serve you real well. But your stuff is beautiful, and cost is cost. I have remarkably little money right now, and I have less. My capabilities are dodgy. I'm walking around with broken tools. So I'm figuring out how to do stuff. And that's okay. We do that. Because I didn't, like, my hands didn't just stop working one day. I used them. And if a tool, like my knife, if the tip breaks off and I can still use it, I will still use it, because that's what I am. My family has a thing. Use it up, wear it out, make do without. This has been drilled into me my whole life. I don't know if it's on the wall, but it should be. And there was a thing on my wife's wall. And I've been told it's a mistype, but I've also heard it's been translated in quotes so many times I don't care. We, the unknown, led by the unknowing, have been doing the impossible for the ungrateful. For so long, we are now qualified to do anything with nothing. I will never be physically terribly strong. And in all realistic reality, it's a sliding scale, and it ain't always looking good for the home team on some of that. But I'll always be versatile. And as long as I can adapt, as long as I can find a way, I can keep going. I don't have it in me to be useless. I certainly don't have it in me to be ornamental. But I do have a few ideas and just a little experience in some odd circles. So it might be interesting and it might be useful. And as long as I can maintain use to you, my dear viewers, my readers, my friends, I'm going to keep doing this. And if there ever comes a day where I stop being useful to anybody, I'll find a quiet beach somewhere and proceed to be a bum or a manatee. Fat guy dabbling in the water, warm water, doing this. Only time I'm doing anything is to go under and take videos of the fish. That would be pretty much absolute hedonism for me. And someday that'll come along. But while I'm in central Indiana now, and it's cold, it's not likely I'm doing that today. So I might as well try to do some good for you guys. It has been a good show. And really want, before I get too close to my wind down, because I've got more than 5 minutes, so I really do want to thank especially John Miner and Steve Clausen. You guys have been really hitting it out of the park today. And Cindy Kep, you were just a wise owl, just watching and knowing stuff, and I appreciate that. And I also thank whoever is watching and not commenting, because it says there's 4, and I have 3 likes. So one if you didn't like. That's okay. That's up to you. If you don't like what I'm doing, tell me. And the 4th person leaves. But God, I love when that happens. I actually find that hilarious. But and they're back. Okay, somebody's having fun with me. That's okay. Thank you guys for coming out and spending your Friday nights with me while I do this goofball show. Thank you for your attention and your conversation, guys. It really means the world to me. And in this time where I don't get out much, this is some of my best interactions with people. Please do your drills, guys. Really. I don't care what variant. And I know that We the Willing led by the unknown. I've seen that version too, John. The We the Willing. I like the We the Unknown, though. And the reason I like that, I may go lay on this one, and I'm okay with that. I like the We the Unknown because our world, okay, is not made possible by the people you see on TV. It's not made possible by the people we elect. It's not made possible by the great grand folks who stride around like celebrities. They may angle it, they may shape it, they may redirect energy. But it is made possible by the masses of people who work every day to make it possible. The dreamers who put their dreams off to put a house roof over their head. The people who go to work every day, and you know, every physical object we have was made by someone. Somewhere, probably in China, somebody is running a series of machines that are squirting plastic and shaping it into this. This trainer wouldn't be here without them. But we need them. And I need you guys. Because if I don't have this lovely live chat off to the side of my screen, just blink, blink, blink every so often, snarky remarks and all, the random questions and comments by the delightful Cindy Cat, I couldn't do this. And I appreciate it because it lets me be useful. But we're into the last 5 minutes, so I want to thank some folks and do the plugs. The Simple Sword by Nicholas A. Tucker, available through Amazon. The systems I talked about are largely here. This isn't the only system out there, but it is my favorite. Please do that. Big Stompy Robots, because gaming shouldn't be expensive or complex. And my other writings, guys, I have a lot of stuff, and I will be having a lot more, hopefully by the end of the month, over at my Amazon site. It is also made possible by my beloved patrons, guys. Steve Augusto, Cindy Kep, Stef Mari, Brian K. Morris of Risingtide Publishing, who I'll be getting to. You guys keep the lights on, and my supporters, Steve Clausen and John Miner, who don't go through that system but support me in other ways, you're what lets this keep going. And I am... Why is Nick like Nick? That is one of those great questions so many people have asked me over the years. Why are you like that? But her opinion. I can't do this without you. I'm glad. I'm really glad, Cindy, because like it's important that it's useful, and I generally. Steve, to what you said, both kinds. But yeah, I couldn't do it, and I am a member of the Rising Tide broadcast network. This involves people like Ted Davies' artistry. It involves the incredible Brian K. Morris, and just about every morning. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 till noon. Yeah, he runs this show where a bunch of creatives get together and talk. It's great fun. You'll see folks like Cindy Kep on there. I usually hop on a program called Stupid O'Clock, where we talk geekdom when I'm out of my more serious... This is my more serious role. And if I'm not talking, I'm communicating with the dry erase board, because with that many people on, the net gets funny, and yeah, it's shtick. There's so many. I'm going to have a formal list. I just want to let you know. I also want to plug Terraform Comics, because the Hybrids, the Sons of God comic is great. I have involvement in that, and I can't talk about it. Thank you, John. Yeah, it will be interesting to hear what you have to say about the Simple Sword. I genuinely look forward to your reviews. It's been a while, so next week, in part, I haven't done a good off-topic rampancy. And because I have to work early, we want to make it colorful. So next week, please send me, over the course of the Historical Fencing Guild's Facebook public group, send me questions that I can answer, related to this, related not to this, so I can be sure to provide entertainment and educational, whatever you want to talk. If you get silly about it, I will respond in kind. But otherwise, guys, a guitar string in my closet. I don't know if you could hear it. It just plucked. So either the string snapped or somehow, really? Okay, cool. So a guitar just decided to play itself in my closet. I suppose that should be more shocking to me. But the closet door is what holds up the twisty tie, what holds up the tarp. Ooh. Next one. John, go see the Pacific for me. I miss it. Well, I guess that was a little bit of Nuke's top 5 for you. You guys have a good night. Stay safe, stay warm. It's going to be a bad one this weekend. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you all. And as always, friends, colleagues, countrymen, support your local sword master. And yeah, ghost guitarists in the closet. Not even abnormal in my universe. Toodles.